In this video, I'm going to teach you 5 tips and tricks to help you use less water, retain the water that you do use, and create a more effective ecosystem without the use of expensive drip irrigation systems that you might have to buy at the store. These are things you can do today in your garden. Hi, my name is Jen and welcome to my channel where we have fun learning about gardening and food forests and homesteading. And so if you like any or all of those things, this is where you need to be. Now, let's learn about watering our plants. So my first tip I have for you is really when and how you water. So you're gonna really wanna water those plants in the morning. You might be tempted to water them in the afternoon when they're really wilty and just screaming, water me, water me, water me. But you really need to get up early and water from anywhere between 5 and 9 in the morning, because that prevents, fungus on the leaves, and it has the whole day to dry out. Okay, you're gonna wanna water at the base of the plant and not on the leaves. Also, the healthier your soil is, the more water it actually will hold in the soil. So the second tip I have for you is to add mulch and eliminate tilling. Now, I won't go into the ins and outs of tilling. I would rather you watch a documentary called Kiss the Ground, and Woody Harrelson does a much better job than I ever could have in explaining how tilling is really ruining our earth, and we need to back away from it. So let's talk about adding mulch. Now, for us, what we have done is we approached someone who was cutting down trees and asked them to dump their truckload of mulch in our yard. And he did that a few times, and we had mountains of mulch. And we've just been using that everywhere. Now, I use that in my food forest, in my flower garden, and also in my vegetable garden. I use different amounts in each one. I heavily mulch in my food forest. I'm not scared of nitrogen leaching. I heavily mulch there. In my 10-bed vegetable garden, I do put a thin layer of mulch on the soil to keep the moisture in. And then for my flower garden, I do put 3 to 4 inches of mulch. When you mulch, it's going to keep that moisture in, and it's going to keep the plants actually a little bit cooler. So if you don't have a mountain of mulch in your backyard like I do, some options might be cut grass, straw, pine needles, like bark. So those are all options that you can have for your garden that you might have just like lying around or that are easily accessible for you. When it rains, your plants are actually getting washed clean. So all of that sediment and soil, possibly even pollution, is getting washed off their leaves. And then have you ever noticed that like after a big rain, your plants are just like, and guess what? They're literally getting so much energy from the sun. Their photosynthesis is on fire, and they're just like super happy and super energetic. And one of the wonderful things about rainwater is that it's like specifically made for your plants. It's pH made for all of your plants. It's just wonderful. Everything about it your plants love. And so the third tip I have for you is to collect that rainwater. Now, of course, you could collect the rainwater in designated rainwater barrels, but today the tips and tricks I have for you are not about spending money. So why don't you set out buckets or pots or pans and collect that rainwater and dump it. But the real tip I have for you on this is to create a hugel mound. Have you ever heard of one of those? Well, if you have, you know what I mean. They are, the way you, like, long story short, is the way you make one is you get these logs that are decomposing, and you start mounding them up with sticks, and then the top layer is going to be like a huge amount of soil. And so you're going to have this huge mound, and a lot of times you can plant it next to a tree, and when it rains, that soil and the logs and the sticks, they're all going to get saturated. And then in a dry period, the soil will dry out, but is really incredible. Like the roots of the tree or the plant or whatever you plant it next to can actually grow up into that mound and wrap their little tendrils around the sticks or the log or whatever. And all of those wooden things retain moisture so much more than the soil. And so they're going to be able to access water when everything else is much drier. So that's super exciting. You can create one of those for free with things laying around your yard, or possibly you go to a neighbor or a friend who has something decomposing, pick it up, bring it to your yard, and create those hugel mounds. So I'm gonna make a whole video on that in the future, but that is one way to capture rainwater for free. What you plant matters. And so for my fourth tip, I have for you to stay away from those water hogging plants and plant drought tolerant plants. So we've got corn, amaranth, quinoa, pole beans, black-eyed peas, and even mustard greens are really great. They're drought tolerant, they'll last you the whole summer season, and they're just like totally reliable plants. Another thing I have for you is planting plants that make summer shade or that block out those summer winds. Those are all useful. Planting berry bushes and trees and orchard can help cool down your whole garden. What you plant matters in saving water. So a fifth tip I have for you today is to water the plants less. I know it seems counterintuitive, but a deeper watering is so much more effective than a daily watering. And it's gonna help your plants, it's gonna help those roots grow deeper into the soil where they're able to access water when maybe other plants aren't able to access with more shallow roots. And this is gonna provide you with a healthier plant that will be able to withstand times of drought. So I hope all of these tips were beneficial for you. I hope that you found one or two that maybe you didn't know, that maybe you're super inspired to start today in your garden. I hope that you were able to take away the fact that there are plenty of methods on saving water without going out to the store and buying a rain collection barrel or an expensive drip irrigation system. Both of those are wonderful, and I've had some of those in the past before, but I just wanted to enable you to, water your garden with confidence and with effectiveness without breaking the bank. You can watch my video on leaf mold or the new one I'm gonna have coming out on hugel mounds.